1.61 lakh crore rupees. That was the monthly collection reported for the month. Is that likely to be the run rate that we should expect now, or do you believe that there could be an improvement on this number?
No, I definitely expect an improvement, Shereen, although this itself is a major improvement over revenue collections in the previous year. It denotes a rate of growth of about 11%, a little more than 11%. But I expect to do better in the remaining part of the year.
How much better do you expect that rate to be on the back of the measures that you have taken, the anti-evasion measures that have been put in place? More is expected as well. What could this 11% look like in the next few months?
So I think we will be able to consistently do something between 1.55 and 1.6 lakh crore, which should be able to get us to the target that we're trying to achieve for the year.
Right. Mr. Johri, let's talk about the road ahead now, because, several pending items, especially when we talk about rate rationalization, is that a priority at this point in time? We've also seen a change now. The panel headed by Mr. Bomai, of course, had given an interim report. A final report was not submitted. There's been a change there as well. But from the centre's point of view, is rate rationalization today a priority?
Look, let me also give you a background, Shereen. So the GOM was tasked with 2 or 3 things. One of them being rationalization of exemptions and removal of exemptions, which I think has already happened to a large extent. If you've been following the decisions taken by the last 2 or 3 GST councils, a very large number of exemptions were rationalized and removed, and some of the rates were also compressed. What remains to be done, of course, is, as you pointed out, what happens to the 4 rate structure, and whether the overall rate structure can be rationalized in the immediate future or not. I think we'll have to await the outcome of a GOM report for that, and that is likely to take some time.
Okay, so that's not expected anytime soon is the indication that I'm getting from you. But on some specific items, Mr. Johri, because there has been a demand, for instance, as far as cement is concerned, to bring it down from the 28% to 18% bracket. On some of these specific items, is there a point of view now that the Fitment Committee has taken or is closer to taking, which will then be presented to the GST Council as and when it meets?
The center view has not been taken yet. It has not been discussed in the Fitment Committee. So it's unlikely to come up in the coming GST Council meeting later this month.
Okay, so cement unlikely to come up. Any further movement as far as online gaming, casinos and horse races are concerned? Because even there, the recommendations of the panel remain inconclusive. Is this uncertainty likely to continue? Because industry is seeking certainty as far as the rate is concerned.
So I do expect the GOM report on online gaming and horse racing, as well as casinos, to be discussed in the coming GST Council meeting. And let us see what decision the council takes, and based on that, we'll be in a position to say something about the rate and the legal structure that surrounds the taxation of these services.
Okay, so you're confirming that this will in fact be taken up at the next GST Council meeting, unlike the issue of cement, which you say has not been discussed even at the level of the Fitment Committee, so that's unlikely to come up anytime soon. Let's talk about the priorities, Mr. Johri. And as far as the CBIC is concerned, cracking down on evasion, on fake entities, has been a priority over the last few months. I'm given to understand that, about 60,000 units were identified as suspicious, but about 50,000 have in fact now been verified. Can you take me through where things stand now as far as the crackdown on what you believe are fake or suspicious entities are concerned? And what is the leakage or the evasion estimated?
So, Shereen, there are 3 parallel movements that are going on with regard to fake invoices and fake firms that are created for circulating fake ITC. So if you recall, the CBIC had initiated a campaign way back in August 2020 to deal with the scourge of fake billing and fake invoicing. We have already detected about 24,000 fake GSTINs as part of that drive. And we have detected fake ITC to the tune of about 63,000 crore as part of the drive, which is being run by CBIC. Roughly about 8,000 cases have been booked under that drive. So that is, one initiative of the three that I talked about. The second one is a special drive which was launched in May this year, in the middle of May. It was meant to be a 2-month drive, so it continues till the 15th of July. This is being run jointly by the center and the states. And for this purpose, we had identified, based on risk, we had identified about 60,000 units for verification. Like you mentioned, we've already verified about 55,000 so far. And we have detected almost 25% of that number to be fake. And that involves the fake ITC of about 14,000 crore. So within these 2 months, the drive is yet to be completed. We've already detected cases worth about 14,000 crore. The third, parallel stream which is going on is the follow-up to the Noida case, which, if you recall, the police had detected, where they arrested 7 persons for generating a very large number of, creating a very large number of bogus firms and circulating fake ITC. Now, under that also, we have so far come across about 1,400 fake GSTINs, and we've detected fake ITC of almost about 3,800 crore. So we are determined and we're very resolute about going after bogus firms and fake ITC. The idea being that we must protect the honest taxpayer. And if we allow fake billing to continue, it unlevels the playing field for the honest taxpayer, and more so for the MSMEs and the small taxpayers who find it difficult to compete with these kind of unfair means and practices. So along with the states, we are determined to use technology and not leave it to the discretion of field officers. We'll use technology to identify these bogus units if they've already entered our system, and they've started circulating, fake ITC, and to crack down upon them, take action by way of suspensions and cancellations. We've done that in a very large number of cases. And so I just want to warn all people who are using this as a means of earning quick money to beware. The law enforcement agencies of CBIC and the state governments, in a very concerted way, are going to come at you.
Mr. Johri, I'm sure that warning will resonate loud and clear across industry. But since we are talking about cracking down on possible evasion as well as action that the department is taking, from insurance companies to mutual funds, there's been a lot of ongoing activity, investigations. Where do things currently stand specifically on that front involving insurance companies as well as mutual funds?
So we had initiated investigations against about 30 insurance companies, 15 of which handle life insurance and another 15 involved in general insurance business. The information we had with us, Shereen, was that many of them had been using fake ITC or receiving input tax credit from units that were non-existent or suspicious. So far, we've been able to complete investigations in 15 cases, and we have unearthed, wrongly availed input tax credit to the tune of about 2,400 crores so far. In the other 15 cases, the investigations are going on, and we'll be finalizing them soon.
Okay, so you're saying 15 companies, these are insurance companies specifically, where investigations have been closed, and 15 where they're still pending. And of the 15 cases where the investigation now stands closed, you're saying that the ITC evasion is to the tune of 2,000 crore rupees. That's what's been detected and identified.
2,350 to be precise.
Okay, 2,350 crores. Any other specific entities at this point in time, across the large listed universe, like we just spoke of, that's being looked at?
In terms of no, in terms of sectors, this was one of the major ones that we were looking at.
Right, Mr. Johri, in terms of other pending sort of matters as well, as far as the GST tribunals are concerned, and this has been, of course, a long pending demand, when can we now see the operationalization as far as the tribunals are concerned?
See, Shereen, I must clarify this. Thanks for asking this question. The legal framework for putting in place the tribunal in the central GST law has already been done. So in the Finance Act of 2023, we incorporated requisite changes in the CGST Act to put in place an appellate tribunal for GST. There have to be corresponding amendments in the state GST laws, and the state governments are aware of that, and depending on when their legislative assemblies meet, they would also be carrying out suitable amendments in their law. I expect that process to be completed by the latter part of this calendar year, and so the process setting up of the tribunal should be possible soon thereafter, which means it should happen within this financial year. At best, it may spill over into early next financial year, but I'm quite confident that we'd be able to do it within this financial year.
But within this financial year is what you believe is the estimate as far as setting up of the GST tribunals are concerned. Let me ask you a few non-GST questions as well, Mr. Johri, since we do have you. And I want to pick up on the issue of the windfall tax. Of course, the levy is nil and has been nil for the last few reviews of the fortnightly review. But will this mechanism stay in place for the time being?
Yes. So effectively, like you said, the tax is nil. It's been like that for almost a month now. That's because, the petroleum prices the world over are where they are. But we're keeping a close watch, and, the mechanism for the time being is staying.
Right. Mr. Johri, I also wanted to understand from you, there were demands and we were given to understand that there was a conversation on between the Steel Ministry as well as the Finance Ministry on the issue of duties there. Has there been any further movement on that front?
So are you talking about a recommendation for anti-dumping duty on certain products of steel?
Steel products. That's right. That's right.
So we have received recommendation of the Director General of Trade Remedies on stainless steel products, and some stainless steel products, and those are currently under examination. We'll be taking a decision soon.
Okay. So would it be fair then to say, Mr. Johri, that at least as far as this calendar year or this financial year is concerned, that evasion, clamping down on leakages, that will be the priority as far as the government is concerned, and rate rationalization will only have to wait perhaps post the general elections?
There are two or three other things that I do want to mention, Shereen, which are going to be our priority apart from just cracking down on fake billing and fake invoicing or evasion. And so the second priority, which we've set for ourselves, is to expand the taxpayer base. And I've been making these statements, because when you look at the income taxpayer base, for example, for corporate tax, we find that there is a gap between the GST taxpayer base and the income tax taxpayer base in terms of numbers. We need to explore why this gap is there and whether it is explained by exemptions related to the threshold turnover, etc. So that is one leg of the exercise that we're going to undertake. Coupled with that, we want to do a very major campaign and an outreach program, through all kinds of media and by having, physical meetings with potential taxpayers in different parts of the country, explaining to them the benefits being part of GST. And the benefits are now fairly well documented, whether it is in terms of integrating with domestic value chains, global value chains, in terms of quick receipt of export benefits, refunds of input tax credit, and so on and so forth. So there are several benefits that are available under the GST law, and by being part of GST, many of them can connect with the e-commerce operators and expand their businesses. So we want to do an outreach and appeal to those taxpayers who haven't yet joined the GST bandwagon to do so. We'll also told them and demonstrate to them that the processes that have been put in place under GST are actually very taxpayer friendly, and they're all electronic. There is very little physical interface. So that is one part of the exercise. The other thing which we want to do to drive home the message also is that we want to be very, very efficient in resolving grievances of taxpayers. So we have already undertaken a campaign of sorts. The members of the board have also gone out, visited different locations of the country. They've been holding, very long and detailed meetings with trade bodies, to understand what kind of grievances they have with the current system and how we can make it more taxpayer friendly. We've received a very large number of suggestions. I would like to thank all the taxpayers and trade bodies for sharing those suggestions with us. In terms of scope, the range is very wide. There are some that pertain to legal changes. There are some that are easier to do because they pertain to making the GSTN or the system more friendly to taxpayers, giving them more information. So we are also looking at this as a very, very positive means of not only addressing concerns of existing taxpayers, but attracting many more into the fold.
Mr. Johri, since you're talking about addressing grievances and concerns, let me put on the table the grievances and concerns that have been raised by many state finance ministers. And what they're essentially saying is, especially in light of the fact that there is no longer any compensation that's coming from the centre to the states in light of that 14% guaranteed assurance that was given to states, they would like a review of the sharing formula and the shared split. How do you react to that? I know that the finance minister over the weekend did, of course, say that, the government wants to dispel the myth that states are losing, but states are seeking and have in writing sought a review of the sharing split.
I don't think it's proper for me to comment on that, Shereen. That is something that the council will look at.
Fair enough. That is something that the GST Council, I would imagine, in its new avatar and its new complexion, will have to take up. Let me ask you, though, Mr. Johri, as far as the revenue neutral rate is concerned, started at about 15.5%, 16%. We're now, I believe, down to about 11% at this point in time. What's your own sense of where we need to be, given the many steps and measures that have been taken forward, as well as, what is pending at this point in time?
Well, where we need to be is very clear, because the revenue neutral rate that was worked out was close to 15%. So I don't think there's been any rethink or revision of that. But I'm quite confident with the kind of revenue collections we've had over the last year and the first quarter of this financial year, that the collection rate would already have gone up, and it will continue to do so. So till the time the rate rationalization is put in place, which would also be contributing to better revenue collections, I think we are inching our way towards that rate.
Inching our way to that rate of 15%, which is what was originally contemplated as the revenue neutral rate for the goods and services tax regime. Mr. Johri, it's always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on the GST Centimetre, for taking us through where things currently stand as far as the GST is concerned, and more importantly, the priorities that the CBIC intends to focus on. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Shereen. Pleasure.
That is the chairman of the CBIC on the GST Centimetre. We will take a break. There's a lot more coming up here on CNBC-TV18. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.